Here at Unity Temple, we've become a vibrant congregation, committed to transforming lives, deepening faith and understanding, and challenging each other to live out our shared beliefs.
We've had a history in Unity Temple of moving forward in bold steps. Things that have allowed us to grow and to thrive, things that have taken some daring on our part, taken some risk, just getting some guts about doing some things, not holding ourselves back.
One of the bold moves this congregation made was in 1885 when they called Augusta Chapin to be their minister. And Augusta was only the third woman ever ordained in the United States. It was obviously a very unusual thing to hire a woman. The next important milestone in the history of the congregation occurred in 1905. Unity Church, during an electrical storm, was hit by lightning and burned to the ground. Frank Lloyd Wright, a young architect and a part of the congregation, was one of several architects who submitted plans for a new church. For the congregation to have hired Frank Lloyd Wright to build this extraordinarily radical modern design in the height of the Victorian era was not the first leap of faith that the congregation ever took, but it was certainly the greatest.
When I arrived, the congregation was good sized at about 350 members. It was pretty healthy. It had actually gone through a significant conflict about 15 years prior with the consolidation of Beacon Unitarian and Unitarian Universalist Church of Oak Park, which was here at Unity Temple.
It was a time when both churches were able to express their fears of what would be lost in the process. For Beacon, it was the fact that we were a small family, children-oriented congregation of 90 people, moving in with a larger congregation that was very well established and lived in this great Frank Lloyd Wright church. For the Unitarian Universalist Church of Oak Park, it was how did they take in this very small, intensely identified group who came with a great deal of children to become one congregation, one place with one identity.
It was not an easy time, but it was a time they learned how to be with one another with differing points of views.
Beacon congregation had a long history of social activism, and they were very interested in social causes. The result now is that we have become a very activist congregation and have taken many social stands trying to make our influence felt in the community.
If I'm a Unitarian, then gladly I rejoice.
About 7 years ago at the annual meeting, we were discussing the budget, and the board had to provide a balanced budget. So it only included a part-time director of religious education because that's all we felt we could afford. And during the meeting, one of the congregation members got up and said, "I want a full-time director of religious education." And the congregation agreed with that sentiment. Meantime, I'm sitting in the pews. I'm coming into my presidential year the next year thinking, oh my God, what am I going to do to make up these thousands of dollars it's going to take to do this? But that's what was voted.
It is truly one of the most important decisions we ever had to make. And it was also one of the toughest ones because we're spending money we don't have. And we're putting faith in ourselves that the money will come, that new members will come, will be attracted to Unity Temple.
The chalice is our symbol.
We've got many, many more children in the program than we had before. And many times what happens is the family follows the children. So as a result, we've been growing exponentially because a lot of the people that have come into the congregation since that decision was made have been families with children.
There's a movement to make sure that we don't segregate the children from the congregation, that they're a part of every service.
I invite the young and the young in heart to come on down and have a story.
There's a story for all ages. There's a routine that they know and they trust and they feel comfortable and they feel safe in the program.
We're going to put all that bad stuff into the smoke.
I think the children are excited about it because they are getting something that they don't get in the normal course of their Monday through Friday life.
What about God's hand? What did God's...
The most important difference we can make in the world is our religious education program. It's not just babysitting kids on Sunday morning, it's about changing their lives. It is giving them this moral compass that they will take into the world that will guide them. The committee in charge of hiring a new minister was the Ministerial Search Committee. They had a vision for what they were looking for, and that was somebody who was going to take the good things about Unity Temple and take it to the next level. Somebody who was young, energetic, creative, visionary, and that was their charge.
They made clear they wanted someone who would be a chief of staff and someone who would lead the congregation in its new chapter without being clear where that exactly was going.
I think at the core of the decision to hire Alan Taylor was our decision to think with our hearts and not with our brains so much. That when we met Alan Taylor, he was sort of untested, but there was something about him, certain wisdom beyond his years. And I think I, like many people at Unity Temple, felt, let's roll the dice on this guy. Part of what Alan brought to us was this ability to look at things differently, to look at ourselves differently, to demand more of the membership.
Cultivate charitable giving in your own life.
He handled it in such a quiet, graceful way, but clearly had this idea that we could be more. That it wasn't just about showing up on Sunday morning, having coffee and going home. It was going to be about what can you do for the community, what can you do for Unity Temple. It really was a cultural shift away from what can we do for ourselves to what can we do for others.
This morning I want to suggest that generosity takes practice.
Alan's entire ministry is built around the transformative power of love. And I think that's where he draws this courage to make changes. And I think it's really the congregation has the courage now to take action and take chances and take risks.
Because generosity is a core value for us here at Unity Temple, it is no accident that we decided to give away the collection plate every week.
Roughly 3 years ago, a suggestion was made to our congregation that we might think about giving away our collection plate every Sunday. There was some resistance from people in the congregation. Some people thought it was just really crazy and irresponsible to do this. We always felt like we never had quite enough money to do the things that we really wanted to do. But the board thought that it was time for us to start acting on our message of generosity and helping other people in a very concrete way. And I think that when we decided to start giving money away, it gave us permission to start thinking less about ourselves and how we were struggling, and how it was more important to act on our mission to help the world, help our community, the larger community.
Morning. How are you? I'm good. Good.
We have helped a few local organizations, one of which is a walk-in ministry that was created a few years ago that is actually like a day center for people who are homeless or in need, and they can go to the walk-in ministry and receive food aid. They give them advice about housing, and if they're having a medical problem, they can point them in the right direction. Giving away the Sunday collection basket every Sunday has really shifted our way of thinking as a congregation, I think, from one of poverty and struggling for money for ourselves to one of abundance. For me, it's the one decision that really cut our strings and let us just soar as a congregation that's able to be generous and giving.
As I said, the greatest When you're doing UU things, you're automatically being a part of something larger. Like, I performed in a couple of benefit concerts, and that's probably one of the most memorable experiences I've had. And just being able to use my own talents and my friends' talents together to work for, you know, a really good goal, like to raise money so that our youth group will be able to go to New Orleans during the summer and help rebuild after Hurricane Katrina.
This is a congregation of people who want to take action on their beliefs in their own personal lives and in their religious community.
I want to be a part of a community that's willing to take a chance. There's always a reason to not do something, but at Unity Temple, people feel empowered to take a chance.
And may your generosity bring you deep joy. Blessed be. Amen.